From the front lines of the information war, it's Alex Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. This is the Info War. Done dirt cheap. Let's get back to all the big guests we got coming up today. But first, Trump getting rid of Spicer, bringing in Anthony Scaramucci. Devastating victory for America. That signifies that they're about to clean house. And that Trump knows they're coming after him and nobody's going to compromise with him, and that the deep state is got a big raging you-know-what for him. Here's a powerful piece from Internet Land. I'm going to find out who made it. I was just posted to Mark Dice's great channel. He's joining us later. But we've got our own 6 months of Trump video coming up later as well that we produced. But here's this one. Here it is.
From this day forward, a new vision will govern our land. From this day forward, it's going to be only America first. America first. Think of the marvels we can achieve if we simply set free the dreams of our people. Because in America, we don't worship government, we worship God. All the nations of the world, friend or foe, will find that America is strong, America is proud, and America is free. A better future is only possible if your nations drive out the terrorists and drive out the extremists. Drive them out of this earth. Today, gathered with friends, I call upon all people, Jews, Christians, Muslims, and every faith, every tribe, every creed, to draw inspiration from this ancient city to set aside our sectarian differences, to overcome oppression and hatred, and to give all children the freedom and hope and dignity written into our souls. I will always stand with the Jewish people, and I will always stand with our great friend and partner, the State of Israel. The people of Poland, the people of America, and the people of Europe still cry out, we want God. And above all, we value the dignity of every human life, protect the rights of every person, and share the hope of every soul to live in freedom. That is who we are. Those are the priceless ties that bind us together as nations, as allies, and as a civilization. Our citizens did not win freedom together, did not survive horrors together, did not face down evil together, only to lose our freedom to a lack of pride and confidence in our values. We did not, and we will not. We will never back down. The men and women of the United States military have been the greatest force for peace and justice in the history of the world. Every time you see the sun rise over this blessed land, please know your brave sons and daughters pushed away the night and delivered for us all that great and glorious dawn. It's time for a grateful nation to join hands with our police and with our sheriffs to build the bridges of cooperation and trust and to make our streets safer for every man, woman, and child in America. I am asking all members of Congress to join me in dreaming big and bold and daring things for our country. I am asking everyone watching tonight to seize this moment, believe in yourselves, believe in your future, and believe once more in America.
Good luck, globalists. Good luck trying to overthrow that. Well, it doesn't matter if it's the Financial Times of London, or whether it's the Washington Post, or whether it's the Economist magazine or the Harvard magazine. They all say globalism is collapsing. People are turning against it. We're not turning against internationalism or being a citizen of the world if you want to live all over the world, or working with other countries or accepting other cultures if you choose to adopt them. But we're not going to be ruled by a secret TPP ratified in secret for 10 years that our own governments couldn't see. We're not going to be ruled by carbon taxes that bureaucrats and Rothschild and Rockefellers and Soroses make money from. Story out today, future of globalism shaken up by Trump victory, nationalist political earthquakes. It doesn't mean Brexit's perfect. It doesn't mean Trumpism is perfect. It means it's about taking the power back to the people, back to the states, back to the government. Bigger politically is always worse, always more authoritarian. And Stefan Molyneux is a businessman, author, researcher, very popular radio, TV host. Really appreciate him joining us for the next 30 minutes. freedomainradio.com, Stefan Molyneux on Twitter, Free Domain Radio on YouTube, hundreds of millions of views, reaching tens of millions of people a week. I wanted to get him on like a week ago just about the general state of the world, what's happening, but now we have Spicer out. Spicer being out, folks, from my sources, as we told you, that signifies the populists are even stronger now. With Scaramucci coming in, they're getting ready to clean house. Trump's putting this communication guy in first with the rollout. He knows deep state's coming after him. It's on. So we'll get Molyneux's take on that. 5 more years of EU migration cabinet victory after agreeing soft landing transition period that will delay UK getting its borders back as the EU announces 10 million Muslims have come in the last 6 years. Worse than I thought. Most of them military-age men. This is the globalist takedown. Now they've announced an EU Navy. And the Italian government's blocking citizen groups just going on and showing how the Islamists come out 100 miles off the coast. They get picked up and taken to Italy, and then everything's paid for. This is a plan to force Islamify Europe. I didn't believe this 10 years ago when I heard it from people. It's really happening. It's so insane. But Peter Sutherland admits it's the plan. So we'll talk about that as well and other big subjects here with Stefan Molyneux. Stefan, thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Alex. Great to be back.
Which one of those 2 biggies you want to tackle first?
Well, I would like to talk about the globalism thing as a whole, because I think there's this massive change that is occurring wherein I think the Trump administration has figured out that it is not the mainstream media that is going to be setting the agenda and determining the popularity of their candidates and their sort of voter-facing people. I think that they're recognizing that the alternative media is where the real action is and where the real mind-shaping is going on, because people come to people like you and I because they get something different than the verbal diarrhea of the mainstream media. And so I think that there's a reorientation. Spicer was big on regime change in Syria. He was hammered by myself and other channels, and he's out and Scaramucci is in. Now, we'll see how he does. I certainly think he's going to be better than Spicer, but I wouldn't underestimate how much impact we're having in reshaping this narrative and having people remember that there's something about local pride that beats this communist globalist nonsense.
And that's why they're in free fall panic when every week now we have videos with 5, 10 million viewers just on InfoWars, one video. You have videos with millions of viewers routinely, always 500,000, 600,000. You spend 20 minutes, you're done. 500,000 watch it. That's more than the average CNN show. They now realize it, though. And this week, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter all launched massive censorship and admitted they are. They said, oh, we're doing 10 times worse than last year against conservatives. But I'm not really a conservative. I'm just a common sense free market guy that doesn't want to live in North Korea.
Well, here's the thing. There is an old principle, Alex, which is that people who spend their time being ostracized, people who spend their time in the wilderness, people who are out learning to eat the stony lichen in the desert, they get stronger, leaner, and meaner. And the left has gotten very lazy because they've owned academia, they've owned the mainstream media, they've owned television, they've owned everything that you could conceive of, and they've been importing all these immigrants to reliably vote for the left, which means they've lost their edge, they've lost their strength, they've lost their charisma, they've lost their capacity to connect with the American public. And we really saw that with Hillary versus Donald Trump. And because they've gotten lazy and they've lost their charisma, they've lost their mojo, now all they can do is scream Russia over and over again and think that that somehow is going to win the American public back, when what it's doing is just driving them further and further away. As the old saying goes, let us never, ever interrupt an enemy when he's in the process of making a mistake.
That's my next question. I want to get back into globalism. Sure, there's an intellectual awakening happening, back to common sense, but they are cornered rats. So what are you concerned about? What do you think their next move will be?
Oh, yeah, well, their next move is always escalation. Their next move is always to, and you can look at this as far back as the French Revolution and so on, but their next move is always to spread lies, rumor, and slander in an attempt to discredit people who disagree with their narrative, but more importantly, to whip up frenzy, hatred, and violence against those who oppose the leftist paradigm. The left is fantastic at being the Iago-like whisperers of sinister facts to the mob, to the point where crazy elements within the mob start to play out a very violent and dangerous agenda. And we can see this happening against Trump supporters at the moment.
Sure, hashtag hunt Republicans. Hashtag hunt Republicans. And you're right, they are escalating that. So where is it going?
Well, I mean, either they're going to succeed or they're going to fail. And I'm damned if I'm going to stand by and let them succeed, because like yourself, I'm a father and I want my child to grow up with the kind of freedoms that I enjoyed, maybe even more. So we just have to stand firm. We have to be courageous, and we have to recognize that we are in a war for civilization. Nothing more, nothing less. This is the greatest battle for wordsmiths in the history of the universe. We're not at the place where it's bullets and bombs. We're at the place where it's words and ideas and arguments. So if you're good at doing that, or even if you want to become good at that, you are conscripted. Philosophy, reason, evidence want you to take your place in the front lines of the culture war. It is now or never.
I think that's the most important thing you've ever said. I mean, this is the 21st century war. This is the new kind of war. They're admitting it's a war. They're admitting it's a civil war. And there was, quote, right-wing problems decades ago, and still the establishment right-wing is just as bad as the liberals. But intellectually, the resistance is by the libertarian mind versus the statist mind. And most of the classical liberals are now libertarians, and they recognize that. But there's an accelerated dumbing down of the constituency that is pro-globalism, where I go out to these events, and it's not like a few of them look like they escaped from mental hospital. The entire whole of them are frothing, insane people out of some type of Day of the Dead movie, and I don't take pleasure in that. I am frightened by it. Who are these people?
Well, this is the constituent that has been bred to be dependent on the bloody fruits of state power. The state reaches into the pockets of the productive, as you know, keeps a good portion of proceeds for themselves, and then uses it to buy votes and dependents from now a couple of generations of people dependent on state power. So when someone comes along and says we need to limit and control and reduce the size and power of the state, people think that they're going to starve to death, that they're going to die in the gutter. They have become dependent on the state to the point they can't imagine living without state power. Now, they can, when welfare or food stamps get reduced, people just shrug and get a job. But that fear, that hump, we need to help them over that hump and help them understand how much better they'll be off without this dependence on state power, how they'll have pride and productivity and self-respect and happiness, which they're not having right now. But like every addict, if you try and take away their drug, they know in their heads they're going to be better off if it's taken away. But in their hearts and in their guts, they desperately don't want to lose it. And we just have to help them overcome that fear, overcome that hump, and sell them on the happiness they'll have when they're free for the first time in their lives.
I want to be specific, as you raise the fact that you're a father, I'm a father. I'm not bashing people that don't have children. I have a lot of great friends that don't, and I understand sometimes, why they don't, or, or issues, or whatever the case may be. But no one, it turns out, in the EU government has kids. I mean, it's the craziest thing I've ever seen. Almost none of the leaders do. And when you look at a group of hundreds of people and then none of them have children, you sit back and you go, wow, these are the most self-centered people. And it really is, the dichotomy is people that have a connection to everything and really think of humanity as a continuum, and people that literally are so nihilistic, all they're thinking about is themselves. And I think that's really the disconnect.
Well, you have to understand that you're part of a chain of freedom. One of the worst things to happen to modern economics was this Keynesianism idea from John Maynard Keynes, who was gay and didn't have kids. And he basically said, oh, yeah, you just got to spend your way out of recessions. Oh, and don't worry, the government will then save when there's economic growth. And of course, all that was it gave theoretical justification for the endless printing of money, the endless borrowing of money, the endless bribery of the general population. And people said, well, you're going to keep accumulating debts. They said this to Maynard Keynes. You're going to keep accumulating debts. What's going to happen in the long run? And apparently he turned and snapped back and said, in the long run, we're all dead. Well, if you have kids, that's not how you think. Because you know that your kids are going to be alive, your kids are going to have to live in the world that your ideas are creating or destroying, and so you want to fight for their freedoms. It gives you a ferocity around the encroachment of state power that I think is hard to replicate otherwise.
You're right. We're going to come back with a final segment here in a moment and get into the political wars. But my view is, even if they end up destroying Trump, which I don't think is going to happen, We've already had devastating victories just against political correctness, showing that we have unelected systems. I mean, just this movement and Trump just being a focal point of that, I think really has wrecked the crony capitalist model. I mean, it's still in place, but it has no credibility, and the power is draining out of it daily.
And they have become lazier and lazier, as I mentioned. And what we need to remember is we have to think, what would the left do if they had power? And we got countless examples of this throughout history. And Hillary Clinton promised this. She promised that she was going to consider any made-up cyber attack from Russia to be the provocation for World War III. She was going to go after freedom of speech. She was going to import millions of state-loving mass immigrants from the third world. So what are they going to do when they have power? When they have a little bit of power, they ram through Obamacare. We have to be as resolute.
That's right.
In our
Stay
pushback.
there, Stefan Molyneux. Stefan Molyneux has really great historical analysis on his website, on his YouTube as well. And I found he's one of the people that is effectively getting liberals who actually are somewhat intellectual to realize they're in a cult. Because they always go, oh, you're just a Republican. I hate Paul Ryan. I hate neocons. I hate all these people. Trump's actually trying to end the al-Qaeda forces that Obama and Hillary created. He's actually trying to have peace with Russia. And they're demonizing him. They're coming after him. And I just wish we could actually reach out to the peaceniks and somehow get them to realize this is all a fraud. Even Alan Dershowitz and even Jonathan Turley, who are classic liberal lawyers, say this whole thing against Trump's a total witch hunt. And it's so dangerous because the Democrats have said they're not going to stop with this. They're talking about civil emergency, overturning the whole elections, and then coming after everybody. So the stakes have never been higher. Stefan Molyneux, looking at that, I mean, I don't know how to state the level of history we are at right now. I mean, I cannot overstate that to folks, that we are at such an epic moment.
It will never, ever in human history come down to as important a moment, Alex, and I really want to get this across to your listeners. If the state wins, if the globalists win, if the communists and the socialists win, capitalism has delivered unto them such monitoring and control and video technology that it is entirely possible we will never, ever be free again. It comes down to this. We have the technology to communicate free and peaceful and voluntary ideas across the world. They have the technology to control everything we do, to monitor everything we do. They're talking about bringing in monitoring of the internet in the UK and so on. If we lose, we may never, ever win again. There won't be some big cycle of history and your great-grandkids will be free. It comes down to now. They would use every tool in their arsenal to win, and they're trying it. We must use every legal tool in our arsenal to fight back, take no prisoners, push forward every agenda, challenge every relationship, push forward, because it's now, literally, or never, I strongly believe.
I'm speechless. That is 100% total veritas. They even brag. They call it the end of history, where they're going to use all the technology to suppress the normal turning, the normal cycles, to end Renaissance, consolidate total control. Schmidt and Zuckerberg, all of them, as you know, Bill Joy warned people. He's one of them, but he said it's very immoral what they're doing. They're going to have a breakaway civilization, put us into total squalor, use it to control us, and then use the fruits of the human mind and open society that has given us almost godlike powers to shackle us. I mean, this is unspeakably evil. What do we do?
Well, we recognize that with something like the betrayal of Brexit. Brexit, as you know, Alex, was about one thing and one thing only, which was controlling immigration. And 80% of white British people wanted control of immigration, 60% wanted it enormously reduced. Why? Because when the immigrants from the third world move into England, British people, white people have to move out. And it never goes the other way. It's a one-way street, where the places you can live in England if you're white get smaller and smaller and smaller. They voted for it, and the elites are now saying they are disregarding what it is that people vote for. To hell with the will of the people. We're going to do what we want, and it's going to be 6 or 7 years before we even talk about limiting just EU borders. And more immigrants came in from non-EU countries to the UK than EU countries. They've declared war. They said the will of the people don't matter. It doesn't matter anymore. What do? You have to start protesting. You have to start getting out there. You have to recognize that this is an emergency. There is no DEFCON level higher than what we are facing right now. You need to pull out all the stops, get all the information you can. You have a global communications network. You can tap into it anytime. You can challenge people in your life. It is down to this, because if we don't solve this peacefully, the kind of weapons that we have, if it turns to war, might end the entire planet.
And the great evil is that they're not trying to reform Islam. They're taking the most radical orthodox forms that are just totally brutal, anti-woman, you name it, to the 10th degree, and then using it as their new shock troops and admitting in their own publications that they're allied with it. This is madness.
Well, they have no interest in diversity. This is something so important. The left sells diversity so that you will accept people coming into your society that will relentlessly vote for the left. They don't care about diversity at all. Try being not on the left and getting a job at a leftist university or a leftist mainstream media outlet. Try being a non-leftist and writing for television. They have no interest. You heard the stats. 96% of voters, of Washington reporters donated to the Hillary Clinton campaign. They have no interest in diversity whatsoever. Diversity means for them, shut up people who aren't on the left, shut up white people, and accept your subjugation. Well, I say no to that. End to the lie of diversity.
And
they don't
they're not
care about it at all.
They're not helping the, quote, brown people by blowing up free market and blowing up Christian civilization that brought everybody in. Again, the globalists are in competition.
Do you remember when the leftists used to care about the poor and they used to care about the working class? Mass immigration drives down the wages of the poor in America.
And it doesn't help the migrants. It drives them down, too. We've got to build up through free market globalism, those countries through free association. Wow. Stefan, Molyneux, thank you. Always enlightening, but today was extremely powerful. Wow. We'll be back with Roger Stone. Wow. That was just, oh, man. This country was on death watch when Trump got elected. His rhetoric, I knew, was devastating him. Just that rhetoric alone reintroduced nationalism, common sense, free market, anti-globalism. I said, well, that's positive, but if he goes sideways, I'll expose him. I mean, that's what I'm used to doing. I'm ready to attack. Default. You're a globalist. You're selling people out. Trump has done way better than I thought he could do. But they're coming after him even harder than I thought they would. Now we learn Obama was ready for martial law on Election Day. That's New York Post. They're looking at COG and having a civil emergency to remove him and saying it on CNN now and MSNBC. They're getting ready to go operational. And they got Mueller over there. 98% of his money going to the Democrats. Everybody on there except him, appointed by Bush, just as bad as Democrats. Everybody on there appointed by Democrats, brought on are Democrats. I mean, this is incredible. We're going to talk to Roger Stone about what this means. He popped in earlier with us, but he's got more intel now. We had him on 3 minutes after the Spicer resignation was brought out. Little Birds told me months ago that if Spicer left, that it would be Priebus, and that would trigger basically a palace coup by the Patriots, and that into that vacuum, folks like Bannon will really be able to get even more done. But already, Trump just totally syncs with Bannon because Trump is a patriot. Before Bannon was, fighting the globalists 30 years ago, Trump was fighting NAFTA and GATT and all the rest of it. So this is a big day. This is a big deal. And Mueller moving is forcing Trump to move. I mean, the crimes of Hillary are legion and confirmed and just left alone. Trump's done nothing, so now they've got the biggest fishing expedition of any president ever against him. All of his associates, all of his campaign people, all their finances. Hell, they admit I'm in the dragnet. Let's go. Let's get these subpoenas going. Let's go. I'm going to testify in public, though. I'm not testifying in secret with Congress. We have a man joining us who did testify in Congress coming up in the next hour. Stone will ride shotgun with us a little bit to introduce Michael Caputo. They had him testify in secret, then lied about what he said and won't release a transcript. That was the trap they had for Stone, but they knew Stone was going to get the information out one way or the other. And so they chickened out last week and brought in Caputo. So that's coming up. Caputo sent by the CIA into Russia to keep Yeltsin in power, and they used that file on him to claim he's a Russian agent with no evidence. That's who these people are, ladies and gentlemen, we're dealing with. So it's a war within the deep state, make no mistake. Now, briefly, before we go to Stone, we're running a special to the end of the month, free shipping. I extended those sales, but I ran out of the X2 and the Brain Force and the Super Male and a bunch of other products. By run out, we're down to like 300 bottles, 400 bottles of those. And we're talking a month until some of these things come back in. So they went back to regular discount that's 10%, not 30 or 40%. But keeping true to my promise, I'm adding a bunch of other items on because I said I'd keep big specials going to the end of the month. Silver Bullet, 66% off, $9.95. It's private labeled, same stuff sold in Whole Foods for $20 to $24, $9.95. Strawberry Caveman, the ultimate bone broth formula, is now in. We had chocolate before. We still have chocolate, naturally flavored, totally organic, super high quality. The chaga mushrooms, the turmeric, the bee pollen, the most concentrated bone broth formula from chicken out there, but not just from chicken broth. I mean, it beats stuff that's from beef bones. There can be some issues with those, obviously, so we use chicken. Strawberry Caveman is now in. Caveman Combo, get the strawberry and the vanilla together with strawberry and get 25% off. Super Silver Combo, Silver Bullet, colloidal silver, Super Blue fluoride-free toothpaste with colloidal silver and iodine, and an electric-powered toothbrush, 50% off. And I can tell you, we get these toothbrushes, depending on when we buy them, for $10 or $11. So there's 50% off. The toothbrush is at cost or I lose money. So that is an amazing deal. It has colloidal silver impregnated in it. Alexa Pure Breeze, an amazing unit at $218 normally. It's $149 right now. We normally discount at $189, but they overproduce at the factory here in the U.S. They're great patriots. And when they came out with these a few years ago, the units were still $800. They've driven prices down of comparable units down to $400. The exact same technology, exact same cubic feet of air, clean in your house. Amazing system. Latest technology, $149. If you want these for your house, one will do a big room, 4 or 5 for your house, supports the broadcast. We make like $20 on it. That's a loss leader, basically. Alexa Pure Breeze, 25% off, $149. We never offered it for that. Vitamin Mineral Fusion, $39.95. It's 33% off. Amazing. Knockout, the great sleep aid, 50% off. Prostagard, the saw palmetto, and many other ingredients. Other brands that aren't even as strong are $45, $50. This isn't just saw palmetto, though, a big dose of that. It's a bunch of other things known to help your prostate. And the government even lets you say that, saw palmetto helps your prostate and it's really good for you. And that's just, it's so well known. They demonize supplements, but even the government says saw palmetto and stuff like that is absolutely amazing. Prostagard, again, 33% off. I mean, doctors prescribe it to folks. Conservatism is the new counterculture coffee mugs, limited edition. Those are 33% off. Myco ZX, because I want you to try it because it's so good and it knocks out the fungus, the yeast, the stuff that other probiotics don't get. It's 46% off. Out of the gates, even though it's a big seller. DNA Force, 20% off. Infowarsstore.com or 888-253-3139. And the globalists are coming after us. I'm not complaining. I'm in a war. We're having success. I need your support. And you're getting great products. So whether it's water filtration or Alexa Pure Breeze, there's a big discount on the water filters from ProPure. Take advantage of these specials, support the broadcast, and help us continue at this size and try to expand, because I'm hiring like 10 talk show hosts the next couple months. One of them is Roger Stone. I'm going to get his contract finally completely done and processed today, but he's on board. And a bunch of other people. But it takes money. It takes board ops. It takes equipment. We're building 2 new studios. We're hiring more reporters, more video editors. There's attrition. I had a great video editor, been here 3 years. He said, listen, I love the stuff you guys are doing, but my friends and family are so mean to me because you guys support Trump. I know people that are coming to work here. One guy from New York, I'm not going to say his name, who his wife left him over Trump. I mean, I'm not complaining, but this is like the Civil War where brothers are against brothers and stuff. I mean, this is hardcore, and I'm not going to sit here and lose this fight. We're starting to turn the tide. But we need your prayers. Spread InfoWars. Spread the videos. Spread the articles. Copy our videos to your channel. Get them out to everybody. Conservatives, libertarians are so good. You ask permission to paint InfoWars on the side of your barn, or can we use your videos and show them at our church? It's fair use. Everything's copyright free. Use it. I just want to reach people. That's why I never monetize the YouTube channels, even though the vice president of YouTube came to me 6 years ago and said, listen, you got 5 billion views, but only 1 billion of them are on your channels at that time. It's much bigger now. This would be, millions and millions of dollars a year. He said, we think it'll be 3-4 million a year if you just let us monetize with bots, everybody. And I said, I'm sorry, I'd rather have 4 billion extra views than have $3 million or $4 million. And I'm not complaining, I don't have money. I mean, that's money doesn't come first here. Money is energy. Once you got a decent house and medical care and decent cars and some clothes. I mean, I've been wearing the same 2 blue sports jackets for 5 years. They're getting holes in the elbows. I got to get new ones. And it's not like I'm sitting there. I just don't care about things, okay? I don't worship them. I worship truth and justice in God and want to defeat the pedophile army. I want to crush them. They're trying to destroy me, and I'm not scared of them. It's animating. I can barely control myself. I love it. I'm going to get them. I'm going to get you, and I'm going to win. Yeah, I'm crazed. You bet I am. I know what you are. I know what I'm up against. God's going to give me whatever energy or will I need to destroy you. So the stronger you get, the stronger I get. And you realize that, don't you? I'm never going to turn loose of you. I'm going to get you. You understand that, scum? You're going to pay for everything you've done. Now, Roger Stone, let me settle down, give you the floor for this segment. Please cover the waterfront, my friend, of what this means today with Spicer leaving and the latest info you have since you joined us 1 hour ago. Is Roger there?
Yes, kind of like the last time the President of the United States called you. I'm walking through TSA. You're going to have to give me a minute.
Okay. So that's what happened. Yeah, one time Trump called me when I was going through the TSA. It's ridiculous. I literally said to the TSA, "Excuse me, it's the president." And they all knew who I was. They said, "Yes, sir." So I just stood there in the TSA line by the scanners and talked to the president. That's another thing where you don't want to be uppity, you don't want to be a celebrity, you don't want to be powerful, because I don't care about all that crap. I'm not a narcissistic person. It's about what the media says and all the rest of it. I'm confident and bold, so people misconstrue what it is. But it is kind of fun to say, sorry, I'm talking to the president right now, and then they know who you are and believe it and go, yes, sir. It's just bizarre. He's going through the line right now. Roger's working double time today. We'll go back to Roger here in just a minute. Let me play a clip here that lays it all out. I want to play Newt Gingrich again. Newt Gingrich, Mueller's law firm gave 99.81%. See, I knew I was saying 98, and something told me that was wrong. The Democrats get 98+%, 98.6% for the Federal Elections Commissions in the 2016 election. They give 98.6% to Democrats. I'm sorry. I misspoke earlier. Mueller's law firm gave 99.81%. And that's true, according to the Federal Election Commission. 99.81. 99.81. Here's that clip.
The Mueller investigation has so many conflicts of interest, it's almost an absurdity. The law firm he comes from gave 99.81% of its donations to Hillary Clinton last year. That's right. 0.19 of 1% went to Donald Trump. The people that he's been hiring are all anti-Trump lawyers. Several of them have very bad records of hiding information from the defense, and one case was rebuked.
Full clip on Infowars.com. Roger Stone at the airport. Roger, please continue. Since we talked an hour ago, I know we talked to you just minutes after the news was announced of Spicer. What's the latest intel?
Well, Alex, it's I think one of the most momentous weeks of the Trump presidency. Not only did the president essentially express a lack of confidence in Jeff Sessions, but we have evidence of a White House shakeup that's been long in the works. I just think that we're about to have a sea change.
And what do you expect, knowing the players, that sea change will bring about?
Yeah.
Again, Roger Stone joins us from the airport. Have you gotten any more intel since we talked an hour ago? The wonders of cell phones not working too well right now. While we get him back, because I know he's got breaking news, let's reconnect with him. Have him do the trick where he flips his phone to airplane and back on. That usually gets you a better signal. He doesn't, I don't think, understands that trick. Because you get in a complex area with a lot of phones on, it'll all kind of downgrade you so that everybody gets a little bit of cell. And the way to cheat that, because it is your service, not really cheating it, the way to get around that is to turn your phone on and off, or to put it onto airplane and turn it back on. I want to play this Mark Dice report. Trump's been president for 6 months, and now he's made it great again. That's coming up. I want to get some of these other clips on record. Here's one. Austria, pork banned from schools because Muslims complained. You don't see pork getting banned out of schools because Orthodox Jews complain. And again, I don't want to sit here and bash Muslims. They're the ones everywhere they go that make you comport to them. They're the ones that make you go along with their system. They're the ones that make you change. And here's the deal. I'm not doing that for any leftist or any Muslims or anybody else. Understand? So here is the clip.
Parents in Austria have got beef with the authorities after pork was given the chop from kindergartens. It's been missing from menus for 5 years. But now it's been spotted, Austrians are in a stew over it. The authorities claim children simply prefer chicken and carrots.
The dish was dropped due to health reasons, among other things, the needs of Muslim children.
But that's one line that's left a non-sweet, all-sour taste in parents' mouths. And those polls say they now strongly oppose the decision. Despite the mayor's claim there's been no official decree, it's still news some are finding difficult to digest.
I cannot really see a reason why the mayor of Salzburg is denying Austrian children access to normal Austrian pork dishes. Pork dishes are part of our culture. If somebody wants to live here, actually, they should respect our culture. There's the one side who thinks we should pursue a kind of appeasement strategy to accommodate Muslims in Europe and to make sure that they feel like at home. And others who think, wait a minute, this is Europe, this is our country, these are our countries, we are not Muslims, we want to keep our identity, so this is part of a major political conflict. There is the strategy of the Muslims is to call any criticism on them Islamophobia. And now, especially left-wing politicians are almost very much afraid of being called Islamophobic.
You know, it's crazy. Vienna is known for its pork dishes. In fact, that's where you get some of the names for pork dishes is after the name of the city, Vienna. I guess Vienna means wine country in its definition, but if you look at Wiener Schnitzel and things, that means from Vienna, hammered pork, hammered beef, and lightly breaded. This is how it works. And here in the U.S., they're taking pork off menus. In Illinois and in some areas of Michigan, areas of New York, everybody's got to bend over backwards for the Muslims. And then we get to have Linda Saussure lecturing us constantly. Stone's going through TSA. We'll get the latest info from him, or he'll come on later with us. I know he's about to get on an airplane. And we also have his friend coming on who was in the Trump campaign and then just testified in Congress secretly. And then they demonized him and lied about him. He's going to be joining us coming up in the next hour. And then Mark Dice will also be joining us. But Michael Caputo is going to be coming up as well. And I've got a ton of news I haven't even gotten to yet. Positive thinking could extend your lifespan. Just believing you're healthy cuts your risk of early death by 71%. But you watch all the TV ads and drug ads, it's like you're going to die, you're dead, cancer's everywhere, everyone's dying, blah, blah, blah. And it actually is increasing it. That's why I'm exposing that they're pushing it to actually cause it. Stone was detained by TSA for talking on the phone. Absolutely. You can't trust in America, and he's not wearing a burqa. Old Junior Brown bringing us in. Remember when that old boy used to live in Austin, you could just go down to the corner, honky-tonk, and watch him play. Now he's a big old star. Moved out to Nashville and Hollywood. I'm a highway patrol. All right, let's get serious here. Roger Stone is in the TSA line. We'll see if he's with us the next 5 minutes. If not, we'll talk to him this weekend or tonight on the Nightly News. The stock market started going down yesterday after 6 months of going up. Of course, it started going up as soon as Trump got elected, so I guess 8 months of it going up to its highest level ever, and hundreds of billions of new jobs, thousands of companies coming back to the United States, 69% reduction in illegals coming across the border, massive deportations of people that have committed felonies, something Mexico and others do as well. But when we do it, it's supposedly pure evil. Killing TPP, renegotiating NAFTA and GATT, killing the carbon tax, defeating ISIS, 95%. Breaking the back of political correctness, standing up for religious freedom. But see, Time Magazine, the establishment, said she's Madam President. And they don't lie. She's our president, at least according to them still. They were supposed to use this whole woman thing, like, we're going to get rid of free market, we're going to bankrupt you and your family, we're going to take your guns, we're going to get rid of our borders, but it's okay because mommy's in charge now, big mommy. The Merkel model. The Deutschland model. But now, Mueller comes out and says, I'm doing a fishing expedition into all his finances, all his family, all his associates, and all of his campaign. I'm going to see if Russians ever bought a condo from him. Oh my gosh, I bet a lot of Russians bought out of their hundreds of properties. Oh my goodness. And the stock market started going down yesterday and today. And the Federal Reserve announced, we're going to increase interest rates even more because the economy's growing too fast when it's sputtering. There they are. There's Mueller and there's Janet Yellen. Oh, there's a recovery in the crib. It might get on its feet. Here, let's take a pillow and put it over baby's face. But Trump's strong little baby, he's kind of fighting the pillow off and snorting some air down. And they're like, oh, we better slit his throat. After all, we're big mega banks. We're liberal. We're Apple and others that make our slave goods in China at factories with suicide nets. Everything's liberal. So the stock market's going down now because of this Mueller thing. This is unprecedented. Roger, what does Trump need to do right now to Mueller? I mean, the guy is completely doing the biggest fishing expedition ever. What does Trump do?
He should first fire Rod Rosenstein, the Deputy Attorney General who gave us Mueller upon his own authority with direction from no one. And then he should fire Mueller and challenge all comers at that point to impeach him if they think they have ground, which they don't. This is a benign tumor. This is a time bomb in which the fuse has already been lit. Mueller will find some bogus charge against the president in the hopes that they will win the House in 2018 and therefore have the votes to impeach.
And they admit that's their plan.
Yes, pretty much. I mean, they have yet to find a crime, so they're going to seek to manufacture one. Now, looking into the finances of the president and his family prior to the time he was a candidate for president, on what authority? It just shows you the desperateness of the ruling clique and the neocons to remove Trump before he, God knows, makes America great again.
Stay there before we have our next guest on, who was in the secret committee hearings in Congress, being accused of being a Russian last week. Stay there, Roger. I know you're at the airport, but do 5 more minutes with us because this is such an amazing time. Folks, tell people to tune in.
CNLive.com.
It's an info war. It's do or die.